Hey, this is Mad Movie Mark, the Mad Movie Mark Movie Review. Thank you for joining me as I review the 1930 comedy romance drama, The Blue Angel. Hey, there's no reason to act alarmed. I think this is going to be a pretty good review. If this is your first time joining me, I'm reviewing every movie of this book, The 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die. I am promised that it is the most updated edition of the book. The Blue Angel was directed by Joseph von Sternberg, who also directed The Docks of New York and Shanghai Express, both of which are in this book. I've already reviewed The Docks of New York. It stars Marlene Dietrich as Lola Lola. This is considered to be her breakthrough performance in which she was daring and magnetic. It also stars Emil Jennings as Professor Immanuel Rath, but throughout the movie he's basically just known as Professor. If we're looking back at Oscar history, Immanuel Jennings is the first recipient of the Academy Award for Best Actor. He won that award for the movies The Last Command and The Way of All Flesh. Now, like I said, this movie is famous for Marlene Dietrich's breakthrough role. It is Germany's first major sound film, and it was shot in both German and English. I watched the English version because that is the one that I found. All the German versions I found of this movie did not have subtitles, so I went with the English one, and the English one was in color. This is also the tragic story of decline, humiliation, and ruin. Now, I thought this movie was spectacular. I will say I made a mistake in the beginning because it is a bit slow, and the version, so as soon as this movie, all the copyrights ended for this movie, there were a ton of different editions of it, and some of them are great and some of them are not. This one, the sound is not spectacular and the film quality is not that great either. Coupled with the fact in the beginning the movie's a little boring, so I checked out a little bit in the beginning. And to be honest, I thought that this was just going to be a case of a guy who falls in love with a cabaret singer, and it's kind of those situations where maybe a guy will walk into a Starbucks and the Starbucks barista is being very nice to the guy, so he assumes that she's hitting on him. That's what I thought this was going to be, where Marlene Dietrich's character basically flirts with a lot of people because it's part of her profession. Now, I'm not saying that a barista will flirt with you. They're just being nice to you because that's what they do. That's their job, is to be nice to people. But some guys will think that that barista is hitting on him because she's being nice. I thought that's what this was going to be here, where Marlene Dietrich's character is someone who flirts with a lot of guys. She is nice to a lot of gentlemen. She constantly allows guys into her dressing room for whatever reason. Very young kids. We'll get to that in a minute when I go over the plot. But I thought this was just going to be a case where he falls in love with this girl, she doesn't reciprocate, and he kind of follows into a life of ruin and obscurity because he's chasing after this woman, and that's not really what it was at all. So we have this professor who I think he's teaching English because his students try to speak German and he tells them to speak English. So he's teaching these students. They fear him a little bit. He is somewhat of a hothead, it would seem like. When he's teaching, he has methods that we would not allow with teachers today, it seems like. But I'm not saying that that's a good thing or bad thing. But they fear him a little bit, but they also tease him a lot, and they play practical jokes on him like a lot of kids would with their teachers. And he's someone who doesn't want to stand for it, but he doesn't really seem to. He seems like he makes idle threats and then doesn't pursue them at all. But he also realizes one day that his kids are hanging out at this burlesque show called The Blue Angel, in which Lola Lola is the lead performer. So he gets upset that his students are hanging out at this burlesque show because they're too young to go to this event. So he goes down there trying to catch them in the act, trying to stop them, and he ends up falling in love with with Lola Lola. He has this really awkward way about him where he's not very good with women, and I think she kind of senses that in him in the beginning, and she's a little bit playful with him and what she's doing, but eventually he does win her heart. She leaves some underwear with him and the next day he goes to bring it back, and then it would seem like he stays overnight and they have intercourse with each other. And the kids find out about this, and they brutally make fun of him the next day by drawing on the chalkboard like pictures of him with Lola and like a pig flying or something. It's very weird. The principal of the school has sensed that he has lost his children, that he's lost the ability to control them, that he's basically lost the respect of his kids, and it seems like the principal or whoever's in charge at this moment does not feel like he's going to be able to regain his classroom, so he lets him go. Essentially, I'm sure that breaks some laws in today's world. I don't know if teachers are at will hires or not. I know today's world, at least in America, it's very hard to fire a tenured professor from a school, and I don't think that this is, they could have just given him a different class or something, I don't know. But they end up firing him from his job, and he proposes to Lola Lola. Now, I thought that this was going to be an absolute disaster, because in my opinion, I'd never really believed that Lola Lola was going to fall in love, and that's the mistake that I think I made going into this movie, that she was not going to fall in love with him because this is how she is to everyone that she approaches, and all of her customers and everyone who comes to watch her. She's acts the same around all of them. Now, I will say there is a scene in the movie where a guy tries to strong arm Lola and tries to like force himself on her, and the professor kind of beats the guy up, and kind of like pushes him off of her, and maybe that's the instance that she fell in love with him. I'm not sure, but he ends up proposing to her, and I'm thinking to myself, this is just going to be a complete disaster. But she agrees, and they get married. And this kind of starts his downfall, I think. I don't know exactly. It's hard to get into the mind of the professor, I would say, throughout this movie to know what he's really thinking. You just kind of have to make guesses. My guess is that he thought that she was going to be loyal to him, and that all the things that she does for her job are going to stop. I'm not really sure if that's what he thought or not, like when he proposed to her, because later in the movie she does get close to another guy. She is kind of kissing another guy, and he gets insanely jealous. I don't know. I still feel like this is just what she does in her job, and he should have seen that. But maybe he was just so consumed with he's very obsessed over her, and he was consumed with obsession that he didn't see any of that, and he was blind to all that. That's possible. But he ends up getting married to her, and now he doesn't have a job, so he's financially reliant on her, which causes a bit of a rift. He ends up selling like dirty pictures of her to the patrons in the in the clubs that she goes to, and he ends up kind of becoming disheveled. He like doesn't shave, he doesn't keep himself up, he starts kind of spiraling a little bit. I don't know if that's because he's so reliant on her for money and the type of job that she does, where he's getting a bit jealous at what she's doing while at the same time relying on her for money, that it's kind of driving him a little bit insane. He eventually gets to the point where she wants him to get a job. She wants him to do anything, and he's offered basically a job as the clown in her show, where he has to put up makeup and allow this other guy to like crack eggs over his head and have birds come out of his hat. So it's like a magic clown act, and you can really tell at this point that he's basically stares off into space a lot. He doesn't have any kind of emotion in him. He's basically just dead inside, essentially, while he's doing these performances, and while he's getting ready for the performance. He's not the man that he once was. He has no life in him. He thought that like marrying this woman would be the best thing he ever did, and he's kind of regretting what happened in his life. At the end of the movie, she ends up kissing another guy. I think she's kind of done with him and the person that he's become, and how he's let himself fall the way he has, and she starts kissing another guy, and he gets insanely jealous and attacks her. He starts choking her, trying to kill her, but he's stopped, and he runs away and he goes back to the school at which he worked, and he basically dies on his desk. And that is the entire movie. Now, this movie is known for Marlene Dietrich's performance. How charismatic, how daring. Obviously, like the outfits that she's wearing for the time are more revealing than what you would see in what was probably considered okay. This isn't. I don't believe this is pre-code. I'm not sure though, but it definitely pushes the boundaries probably of what she would have been able to do back then. So how daring and her performance is and pushing the envelope, she's definitely known for that, and this is famous for her breakthrough performance. I will argue, though, that I thought Emmanuel Jennings' performance in this movie was better, personally. I thought, especially at the end of the movie, where he's spiraling out of control, where his life is coming to a tragic end, where the walls are kind of closing in on him. I thought that his performance was better, if I'm going to be honest. I thought that his storyline was better than hers. I'm not sure why this movie she's totally considered to be like the shining star. I mean, he just delivers such a fantastic performance here that not a lot of people could have done. It's just absolutely amazing watching him on screen during the last half of this movie, and to see his subtle decline, his slow decline throughout the whole process is fantastic. It's a wonder to watch. I thought he did an absolutely amazing job with it. I really did enjoy this movie. I thought I would hate this movie, and by the end of it, I thought it was. I was moved by it. I was touched by what had happened. I was touched by his story. I'm not exactly sure how he dies at the end. It seems a bit of a coincidence that he just goes to his desk and dies. I don't know if it was suicide. There's no signs of suicide. There's nothing to really lead me to believe that he killed himself in any way, besides the fact that he was depressed and distraught, and his everything he had wanted in life was gone. But it doesn't openly say that he committed suicide. It just basically shows that he died, so I'm not really sure what happened there. But it was tragic. It was very sad. And I don't know, I guess the only real issue I have with this movie is I wish I would have been able to get into the professor's head a little bit more to really understand his motivations and why he was doing the things he was doing, why he ended up. I think I know why he pursued this woman. It's because he was alone. He had just lost his bird companion in the beginning of the movie. This was someone that he found incredibly attractive. She was dangerous. She was alluring. A lot of people wanted her. So obviously he's someone who wants to be with her as well. He finds her attractive, but then I don't know the motivation behind the whole why he didn't seek to get another job, why he allowed himself to succumb to what he did. Now maybe he was just so jealous that he found it impossible to leave her side, that he found it impossible to leave to a day-to-day job because he didn't want other guys to be around her, and he didn't want to be working at a 9 to 5 thinking about who was going to be hitting on her and if she was going to be singing to other men and stuff like that. This is just a guess because I don't know what his thoughts and motives were, why he didn't pursue any other careers, why he just allowed himself to kind of let Lola be the sole breadwinner. It just seems like it was a fall that didn't have to happen, but it did. But tragic nonetheless. They both did incredible job in this movie. Very good performances from both of them, and I give this movie a 9 out of 10. I really thought it was quite good. I hope you join me next time when I review the movie All Quiet on the Western Front. I do want to say that if you've made it this far into this review, thank you. And if you're watching this, my wife has already given birth to our second child. I schedule these out a little ways. So this one will probably come out at the beginning of August. And the rate at which I do these reviews might slow down a bit because our second child has been born. But I will be still doing reviews. I just don't know how often. In November, I will have more time to do them as I'm doing them now. But I hope you join me next time for All Quiet on the Western Front whenever that comes out. Thank you. Have a great day.